Bonjour à tous and welcome to this lesson on negatives in French. Now I've made all of these videos separately so that you can watch them in the order that you like, when you like, but if you don't have much experience with negatives in French, then you definitely need to start with this one, because pas is by far the most common negative in French, and I'll be going through a few things in this video that I won't repeat in later videos. So if you're not 100% sure about pas at this point, then you definitely need to continue watching. So we're going to start with some very simple sentences in the present tense, and in this case, to negate them, all we do is take the verb and put a ne before it and a pas after it. So for example, je suis heureux is I am happy. To negate this, we say je ne suis pas heureux, I am not happy. So our verb is the je form of être, that is suis, and we've put a ne before it and a pas after it. The same goes for j'aime les pommes, I like apples. To make that negative, we say je n'aime pas les pommes, I do not like apples. So notice two things. Number one, when ne is followed by a vowel, it becomes an apostrophe. That always happens, there are no exceptions. And secondly, notice that in the first negative in English, we say I am not happy, and in the second one, we say I do not like apples. So we have two ways to negate verbs. We have this simple not, but then do not in other cases, and that depends on the type of verb that you're using, and is an English problem, not one that exists in French. This is the way we always make a negative in French, regardless of the verb that we are using. This also applies to any other simple tense. That is a tense where you have just a subject and a verb. So not just the present, but also the simple future, the conditional, the subjunctive, anything where you have subject, verb. What though if we have a tense like the passé composé, where instead we have an auxiliary verb and a past participle, like for example, j'ai mangé, I have eaten, or I ate. In this case, we're going to put the ne and the pas around the auxiliary verb, which in this case is avoir. So we get je n'ai pas mangé, which is I haven't eaten or I didn't eat. Similarly, elle est tombée is she has fallen or she fell. To negate that, put a ne and a pas around the auxiliary, which in this case is être, and we get elle n'est pas tombée, she hasn't fallen, or she didn't fall. And again, that goes for any similarly structured tense. So not just the passé composé, but also le plus que parfait, the subjonctif passé, conditionnel passé, any tense where you have auxiliary, past participle. Now there's one other thing I want to talk about with this negative, and that's when we're talking about quantities of things. Take for example the sentence j'ai de l'argent. That means I have money or I have some money. In this sentence, the de l apostrophe is essentially the word some. And when we negate this sentence, that de l apostrophe is simplified just to de. So I don't have any money is je n'ai pas d'argent, not je n'ai pas de l'argent. Okay, we don't need the article in that case. The same goes for tu as du temps, that means you have some time, where du is the word some. To negate this, we would say tu n'as pas de temps, you have no time, not tu n'as pas du temps. One other thing you might notice here is again we have two ways of saying the same thing. I don't have any money and you have no time. Again, this is an English problem. Any and no in English are very similar but not quite the same. It doesn't exist in French. Once again, all negatives are formed this way. So before you move on to another negative word, let's have a quick recap. For simple tenses like the present, the structure of a negative is ne plus the verb plus pas. For compound tenses, that's tenses with auxiliary verbs and past participles, the structure is ne, then the auxiliary, then pas, then the past participle. And then finally, one last thing, in casual speech, the ne of these negatives can be omitted. So rather than saying je n'ai pas de temps, you can say j'ai pas de temps. Rather than saying je n'aime pas les pommes, you can say j'aime pas les pommes, but that's only in casual speech. If you're writing or speaking in a more formal context, you must include that ne. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. And until next time, à bientôt.